Hey guys, I just want to let you know, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain, okay? So it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's right. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Nothing beats that. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What is up, you guys? All right, so let's just take it back here for a second. I last left you guys off with disciplines and what disciplines look like and what we needed to do disciplines. And I had a realization that there are certain things in each of our lives that we are just not really wanting to be disciplined with, or they kind of fall on the back burner, and it's not necessarily something that we're willing to train. It's just like if you were training at a gym, you're training a muscle, you're causing it, time under tension, you're disciplining it. That's why when, let's just say, a woman that has been training for years, let's say she gets pregnant, has a baby, and goes straight back into training, when she's able to, she has that muscle memory. Why is that? That means that she disciplined her muscles to do something. So when she was able to pick that activity back up again, her muscles already knew the discipline that she was willing to go put back into it to be able to get to where she wanted to be, right? So it does take a little bit more than just discipline to do that. It takes commitment. You have to be willing to be committed to that actual discipline. The discipline of doing things, to me, is more so the action. The commitment is a decision that you decided to make up in your mind to say, you know what, this is going to get done no matter what, which is my topic, which is what brings me here. So I left you guys at disciplines, and I started to realize that it really wasn't a priority for me to have continuous content out. And I don't mean on social media platforms. I mean, recording or adding and things like that. So I had to really study in the last couple months, and become really self-aware of where I felt that I was slacking. And it's not lacking, right? Lacking. It's slacking because you lack nothing. Everything was put in you, all the resources that you have available to you. I started to be really self-aware of if I don't focus on what I don't have, on the followers that are not there, on the people that are not there, on the sounds that are not there, on the tools that are not there, it gives my mind, body, and soul enough space to be able to create the things that could potentially be there, focus on the things that are there, and work with the things that I can work with, instead of focusing on the things that are not. And I'll give you something really something that really hit me when it happened. Over on a social media platform of mine, there was new features on there, right? And the new features allowed for 15 seconds versus 30 seconds of a recording. And for the longest, my social media platform would not budge. It would not give me access to the 30-second video that I so wanted. And I wanted it. And I'm like, okay, I need it. And I gave myself the reasons why I needed it. Mind you, everything was a good reason. But at the end of the day, it can also be used as an excuse to not get the things done that you need. And not just that, I was still doing the things that I wanted to get done, but I was focusing on what wasn't there. And it was causing some subconscious thing in me to say, well, the work that I'm putting out is not good enough because it's not long enough. The things that I'm doing, I'm not really adding value to. And that is the energy that I was putting out there subconsciously. So I started to feel like nothing was happening, that I was at a plateau with certain things in my life. Now, maybe that's not how it looks on the outside world looking in, but you will have those feelings from the inside out. How to break those barriers. And that is a topic for another day. I must write it down before I forget, right? So, on the social media platform, I was focusing so much on it, and it wasn't intentional focus. It would be every time that I went to go and post something, I'm like, man, I would really love if this was at 30 seconds versus 15 seconds. I could add this, and this. The moment that I said I give it up, I am going to add as much value as I can possibly with what have I already been gifted with a social media platform that, I don't have to pay, right? That moment was like peaceful. Like I let it go, and within like 72 hours, like I kid you not, the feature became available to me. I stopped focusing on it. I told myself no more. I give it up. If it's meant to be on this account, it will happen. And that's something very small. To some of you guys, you're probably like, that really doesn't matter. But to someone that uses their social media platforms for influence, to speak for others that can't speak for themselves, to inspire other people, to add value to people, to give out content that I wish I had when I had first originally started my spiritual journey or my physical journey or my business, anything like that, it is of value to me, right? So maybe you value something else. Put yourself in that position of the things that you value and become real self-aware of where in your current life right now you're telling yourself, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. Whoever's in office, now I can't have this, now I won't be able to do that. Now we can't have this, now this is not happening, now I can't. You're literally subconsciously planting seeds of negativity into your beautiful garden every single day, right? So I want to give you guys some strategies that I had to learn and that I am still to this day and probably will forever be putting into place about becoming just more self-aware of not just the things around me, but of me, right? The things that I need to know about myself, about who I really am, right? And something that I read on it said something like awareness of yourself is just not, it's not knowing that you're a morning person instead of a night owl. It's not just knowing that you like tea versus coffee. It's not just knowing, what your triggers. It's literally peeling back layers of your life, like if you were peeling an onion, right? And becoming more and more comfortable with what is in the middle, which is you as a person, the rawest version of yourself. And most of us, especially if you're a woman, no offense, we are wired with emotions and we don't really become self-aware of the full range of feelings, both positive and negative, that we have to go through every single day. Like this is not just one day. This is every day from the moment that you open your eyes to the moment that you close your eyes, right? When you wake up, if you have kids, the feelings that you go through, why are you going through them? How are you showing those off? How are you leading the people around you? How are you showing up to your workspace? How are you showing up for yourself in the morning? When you don't take the time out to notice and understand those feelings and those emotions, they're going to have a funny way, this is from personal experience, of resurfacing, right, in your life and in situations when you least expect them or when you least want them to. It's just their way, I think I realized this, like it's their way of trying to bring something important to your attention. So I'll give you an example. If you, let's say, are not the best at money management, right? And now you have a business and now money's flowing in, but now you have a situation in your business that you have to handle either with employees or business partners or with this or that, or maybe you get a flat tire, or maybe something really big breaks that you have to replace it. That is, and you start having negative feelings like, man, why do I have to fix this? Like I just came out of something, like it's always one thing after another. It's just your feelings trying to bring something important to your attention of why it is that you're feeling like that. So it's going to continue to persist and damage you until you take notice. It's going to bother you. It's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to cause those feelings of quote unquote anxiousness, right? There's certain reasons why we feel certain things the way that we do. And there's certain reasons why we don't feel certain things the way that we do or the way that other people do. So I think when you face the truth about yourself and who you are at sometimes, yes, at first it's not going to be fun, but then it really allows some clarity in your life because you're becoming more self-aware and you're getting in touch with the emotions and tendencies of what cause you to do certain things in your life and what cause you to stay away from certain things in your life, right? So I just kind of want to acknowledge you right now and tell yourself, I hope you take this second to give yourself credit just for the smallest progress. The smallest progress. It doesn't even have to be very much. Maybe you had physical aspirations at the beginning of the year and you've only been able to make it to the gym one time this week. That is progress, because before, the gym was not even a thought in your mind. Eating healthy was nowhere to be found in your vocabulary. Progress over perfection each and every time, right? Progress over gifts each and every time, because if you don't practice those gifts, if you don't continuously use those gifts, if you don't continue have progression in those gifts are just going to sit there, become idle, and they will no longer be used, right? What you don't use, you lose, pretty much. So take this time, take a second to just hug yourself and tell yourself, I am proud of you. I am proud of the self-aware person that I am becoming and that I'm going to become. Whether it was listening to this, whether this triggered something in you to say, okay, I really have to start, my online business, or I really have to start eating a little bit healthier, or maybe you wanted to launch a podcast last year and something has stopped you. Ask yourself why, right? Or you launched it just like me, and then you've had bits and pieces of starting and stopping. Why? Ask yourself why. Is it something that you really want to do? Is it something that scares you because maybe you feel like you have massive success? Or is it because you're feeling like you're failing? I don't really see failing like that. I see failing as a learning process. Like I am more than willing to fail at something so the next time I know where I can become better at. But there's a difference between that and not even trying, which is what led me to go ahead and say, you know what, I had to work on myself. I had to become self-aware of what feelings and what emotions. And I think it was just like, it was sucking so much energy from me that because I allowed it, that I wasn't able to give my time and focus to other things that I felt were a priority that I realize now are not a priority, right? So it gives me that mind space and that clear focus to say, you know what, this was something that made me happy. This is something that I get feedback on. This was something that is adding value. Whether you listen to it now in 2021 or you listen to it in 2031, it's still going to give you something to work with, right? So something that I learned, and I learned this from a book, but I learned this from my husband. I'm going to give you a couple of strategies, and then I'm going to keep this going. So you're going to have to come back for more strategies. And I would love to hear on your social media pages how this is helping you. Just tag me. And I'll be posting my Instagram at the very end. How is this helping you? How is this helping you become more self-aware of your own BS? How is this helping you become more self-aware of the things that you like, of the things that you don't like, of how it's helping your household, your marriage, your relationships, your income, your relationship, with your faith, your spirituality, your emotionalness. So quit treating your feelings as good or bad. Quit treating your emotions like they're good or bad. Something I recently learned, and how I learned this from my husband, was he's like, no decision is good or bad. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, a decision is a decision. Whether you characterize it as good or bad is your choice. I know that for a fact, most of us are like, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision? Sometimes we think that decisions that we make are probably the right decisions in those moments because that's the decision that we decided to go with. Wow, what a tongue twister, right? So I don't necessarily think that they're good or bad. There are some instances, right? Like, I'm not even going to bring them up, but there are some instances that decisions do seem as good and bad, right? I'm not taking it to the extreme measure here, and I'm not taking it whether you're deciding to go with apples or bananas. I'm just talking about your everyday life decisions that you're making every single day. When you wake up, you brush your teeth, you either put on the news or you put on some worship music. You're either driving with a smile on your face or you're honking at people and flicking them off. You're either telling yourself you're going to be late or you're saying it's going to be an amazing day and I'm going to give it my all. I am talking about those type of decisions. I am talking about the decisions that you are treating as good or bad. So those are the decisions that I am talking on. As I was saying, stop treating your feelings as good or bad. Your emotions as good as bad. Making sure that you allow yourself, to feel what it is that you're going through, and not making necessary judgment on the emotions, because they're literally going to run your life if you don't allow them to run their course. Something that I started doing is I found a spot in my house, and I'm going to give you the strategies, but I'm also going to give you real life things that you can utilize at this moment in time at any given point. So I found a room in my house, which happens to be my closet, that once I start feeling the emotions stir up, whether it's anger, whether I feel really sad, whether I'm, super excited, if I am at home, I make sure I go in my closet and I ask myself, okay, I tell myself, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I need to know why. Why did I start to feel angry? Why did I start to get upset? Why did I start to notice joy, jolts of excitement? So then I know where to begin. I know where to go from there. And in that process of talking to yourself, right? If it's feelings of anger, it just starts to dissipate. You don't give those feelings or the emotions control. You pretty much allow it to run its course and say, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this is why. And if you are like me, it helps you from reacting to certain situations. Like I had a really big challenge when, I used to get upset that I would have to text message back immediately. I no longer do that. I take the time to read it, to put the emotions from a message aside and ask myself, why is something like a message over a phone making me feel any type of way, and why? And then you honestly you end up beginning to build that, and then you start taking a hold of it more immediately the next time that it happens. So a suggestion is refraining from putting them into a good or bad pile. Just remind yourself that those feelings are there to help you understand things that are more important. The root causes of why you do certain things in your life, and the root causes why they don't. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't do this for every single emotion, or I would be spending a lot of time in that closet. But it has definitely helped me work better on myself, on my marriage, on my relationship with my kids, on my business, on my relationships with people. And it has made my life just less stressed, because I started to not let the little things bother me, and I started to take control of my attitude and my efforts. Okay, so quit treating your emotions as good or bad. And then from that, number 2 is allowing yourself to notice the ripple effects from those emotions. So consider yourself like when you are in the closet, or when you allowed yourself to realize I'm feeling a type of emotion, you're running to the closet or you're running to your pantry, right? I chose the closet because personally I can't eat what's in the closet. I don't run to my pantry because then you can become an emotional eater. And if you already have those type of issues, which I'm not going to get into, then it's very easily to go and run to food for something. And I just prefer to not do that, because it's going to cause more of a ripple effect and a challenge than a help. And it will be more of a hindrance on my end. So let's just say that you lose your cool, right? You lose your cool, and you lose your cool in front of your team. You lose your cool in front of your coworker. You lose your cool in front of your kids. In that moment, it may seem that, maybe you just let go of your feelings or how you were feeling your frustration. But at the end of the day, it has a ripple effect on the people that are listening to it, even though they're not involved, on the people that it happened directly to, and on yourself. So now you just didn't end up hurting yourself. You ended up hurting others around you. And this is where I started to notice that things change around me, when I was able to start controlling my emotions by doing certain things. So something that I'm going to give you an amazing trick on is I always carry water with me anywhere I go, because I do like to get my gallon or more of water in. So if I ever feel any type of way, or if I feel like I have to react or say anything, I take a sip of water. So mind you, this allows me to get in my gallon in way quicker. And it also allows me to reflect on, why do I feel the need to have to say something in this moment in time? Why do I feel the need like someone else has to control the way that I react by me giving into what they are saying, by pushing my buttons? So no one around you, let's say that situation happened, wants to be a target. Your emotions are so powerful, and if you continue to think about their effects, they are instant, right? They are instant. So for me, one of the keys to be able to watch my emotions is to really watch closely how they impacted people immediately. Now, I'm not the expert on this, but I can tell you this. If you have really, really good people around you, really, really good people that are willing to tell you, hey, this is what I noticed when you said this is how this person reacted, or this is how I noticed when they said this and this is how you reacted, it will allow you to closely monitor yourself around certain people, around situations, right? I'm not telling you to change who you are to your core, because that is what you're trying to discover here, the essence of you. But I have those key people in my lives that call me out separately and tell me, hey, when you said this, and you probably weren't thinking about it, this was just you probably being yourself, this is how I saw this person react, this is how I saw this person act, and this is the things that I noticed. And because of that, it has allowed me to become more fully aware that certain things that I say or do may hurt others' feelings, or vice versa, right? So the more that you really understand how your emotions ripple outward, the better you can become equipped to choose the type of ripples that you're trying to create. So are you going to choose a good wave? And that's, again, you don't necessarily have to label them. What kind of ripples and what kind of waves are you wanting to create, not just for other people, but it's going to start with you, right? So the final and third tip for today is lean into your discomfort. Lean into the things that you are so trying to avoid. Because rather than avoiding those emotions and their feelings, the goal for me became to move towards those emotions and those feelings and those challenges, dive into them, and eventually through them, right? So the biggest obstacle to increasing my self-awareness was this tendency that I wanted to avoid certain situations, certain people, certain things. And it wasn't even just that. I think for me, it was more the fact that I didn't know how to bring it up in a sense that it would communicate properly. I don't necessarily feel that I am challenged with having conversations with people. I think I was more challenged with it becoming a discomfort or uncomfortable because I didn't know necessarily how to address it in a proper way or manner. So I didn't necessarily avoid the pain, because I think that avoiding certain situations, avoiding the tough conversations with your team members, avoiding the conversations in your marriage, avoiding the conversations with people, I think that actually creates more of a problem, right? And it may just quote unquote be a short-term fix, but at the end of that, again, remember, go back to what I told you, it's just going to resurface itself again. And you'll never be able to manage it effectively if you ignore what you need to do to change, or if you know what you need to do to become better in the process. And it's not just you. If you can learn to, challenge yourself to fix those things, you can help the person, that comes after you. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your kid, maybe it's a team member, right? So for me now, instead of avoiding the feeling, the goal for me is, again, to move towards that challenge, to move towards the emotion, to get through it. This can be said for anything. Like, I think one of the most discomfort, is that a word? Uncomfortable things for me is to feel bored. When I feel bored, I start just doing just random things, right? They're not bad things, but then I miss the opportunity to do really something productive with those types of feelings. So that caused me to restart my podcast. Those feelings of I must give back, the feelings of, why am I not doing certain things? Where is my time going? So instead of ignoring my feelings, what I do is I just take those feelings and say, I'm going to put them into something productive. And then I'm going to let them go ahead and take a positive effect in my life. And it allows you, to lean into those challenges that you may be facing with yourself every single day, that you keep asking, okay, why is nothing changing? Why are the things around me not changing? So what I encourage you to do is that by increasing your self-awareness, it just allows you to be able to think about it when it happens. So then you can change those habits that for so long you probably picked up without noticing, the habits that we do every single day. It's just like driving a car. You don't necessarily tell yourself every time, okay, start the car, put your foot down, put your foot on the brake, press the start ignition, move it back to reverse, go ahead and take a, quick, slow right, left. No, you probably told yourself the first couple of times, when you were trying to learn how to drive. After that, it just became something so automatic in your brain that you probably haven't had to redo, unless maybe you're teaching one of your kids how to drive, or it's part of your curriculum, right? So again, by increasing your self-awareness, it just kind of allows you to help yourself change. So you stop self-sabotaging, and you stop telling yourself that, man, I'm always wrong. Or you stop telling people, I'm sorry, and there was nothing really to be sorry about, right? So we all make mistakes. We all do things that maybe we're probably not very proud of. We all have done things in our lives that, you're like, man, I wish I could have changed that over there. But at the end of the day, those are Those are things and feelings of awareness that have caused you to be more aware, hopefully, for the next situation that comes up, because it's just trying to bring forth to your attention something important that must be worked on. I hope you guys had an amazing, amazing time listening. Again, you guys can go ahead and go follow me over on social media, and I'll spell it out for you at OTTERSBACHS, Ottersbox. Feel free to let me know how you felt about it, what you're going to start implementing out of these tips, and how it's starting to completely change your life. So I will see you next time. I can't wait to hear back from you.